All right, well, it's 5:05, so we'll hop into it. Today, what I want to do, as you guys know, if you saw some of the stuff, we're going to walk through the pitch script word for word of what I used for a long time. And it went through a couple of different iterations over time, and we'll get through that. But this was the main one that I used for a long time, and so I want to walk through just kind of backstory of how I got here and like what made me go through this revelation, the framework for how I built it, and how hopefully you guys can take this and adapt this to your stuff and build it that way. I will walk through the script, and then I'll walk through some stuff around personalization that should make it easy. So yeah, if that's cool, I will share my screen. We'll walk through a couple things and go from there. Is that good?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Let me know when you can see this.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to walk through this. Okay, so today I'm going to walk through the exact word-for-word script that I used to close and collect $4.2 million in upfront cash from my agency. And the $4.2 million, people throw out different revenue numbers all the time and different things. When I say $4.2 million, that is money that I collected directly from sales calls. So not like, hey, we signed, a 3-month deal and this is all the cash in the 3 months. Like, no, this is directly what got paid after the sales call. So what matters to me when I'm speaking about agency sales is how much money do I make right now? Because as great as 3 months, 6 months, 12-month contracts, that's not recognized revenue until it's actually in your bank account. So I want to talk about that side of it. So this is the $4.2 million in cash that did lead us, obviously, to long-term upsells, additional recurring millions, which is great. Just to be completely transparent, like this pitch took years of testing and trying and failing and messing up to figure out. So my hope today is that I can give you the exact structure that I discovered and I've consulted dozens of agencies and agency salespeople on. So in fact, one of the people in my program right now, Patrick, he closed a $27K paid in full deal just this week using the pitch script. So I'm super excited about it. And it's good to me because I know that this was something that worked for me while I was actively in the agency, but now that I'm working with other people, it's still working. So that means it's built on fundamentals, not just what's on, what's trendy. And that's obviously super important. So before I get into it, I want to walk through how I got here, what I was doing wrong that I see almost every agency that I talk to is also doing wrong, what I figured out, and then the script. So if we rewind back to 2021, I was like every other young agency owner. Well, I like thinking myself as young. I guess I was 25 at the time, so it depends on your perspective of young. I was very hungry to grow my business, willing to do whatever it took to make my dreams come true. As you all are probably aware, the only thing that really matters when you're trying to grow is the ability to get deals closed, right? Because if you can't get deals closed, you can't make any money, you can't serve any clients, you can't keep getting to the next level. So knowing that, I dedicated all my time to being on sales calls. I took over 3,000 sales calls by the time we sold the agency. I ran into the same issues that maybe some of you have faced. Prospects not caring about what I had to say, prospects not seeing my value and treating me like a commodity, not being confident in what I was selling, getting ghosted after my calls, hating getting on sales calls in the first place. All of those things, as well as any other problem that you could possibly imagine around being in sales, I had to deal with that, and it was a complete nightmare. And so I knew that I had to get better, but I did not know what I was doing wrong. And so it's very difficult to fix problems if you don't know where you're going wrong. I spent every day selling and reviewing, right? Hopping on sales calls, recording the calls, listening back, trying to figure out what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Listening to my calls, trying to figure all that stuff out. I was closing at that point, maybe if I was lucky, 1 out of 10 calls, so about a 10% closing rate, which was not very good. One night I was in the office late, it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning or something. I came across a video by a guy named Matt Ryder, dude out of Australia. He owns a company called Sales Sniper. I highly recommend looking into his stuff. He's really good, really opened my eyes on a lot of the way that I think about sales, stuff that I learned from him. He's got a great stuff on YouTube. I'll get more into the details of kind of what was in that video, whatever else later. But the biggest thing that I took away was him saying that the reason that people are not buying is because your pitch sucks. And that hit me in the face because I knew he was right. Like my sales calls, and I don't know if anybody else is like this or if I'm kind of a lone wolf here, but I would get on the call, I'd ask a bunch of questions about their business. I would then tell them all of the great things that we can do and like how great we are. I'd tell them about how we can help them or whatever. And then I would just ask them like, hey, is this something you want to do? Usually the end of that call sounded a lot like, hey man, this sounds great, I just need to think about it. Or hey man, this sounds great, it's just a little too expensive for me. Or hey man, this sounds great, I just need to talk to my wife or my boss or my partner or my dog or whoever people want to talk to, right? And spoiler alert, those people who said they were needing to get back to me, they never got back to me. I had no structure, I had no flow. I'd written dozens of these quote unquote sales scripts, but at the end of the day, I was just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping something stuck. Truthfully, I was just winging it. in that video that I was talking about earlier, he went on to say that the best pitches had 3 components. They are stupid simple and really easy to follow. They focused solely on the prospect's desired outcome, and they tied back to what was said during discovery. So in an instant, I knew that I was doing none of those things. And even if I was doing them partially, I was doing them very poorly. So I spent a month, excuse me, I spent a month working on my pitch. I was really trying to dial it in. Writing, pitching, recording, reviewing, over and 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 over. And for a while, not much of a difference. I went from a 10% closing rate to what, like a 12%, 15%. That's okay. Still not very good. Still not where we want to be. Then one day, I was adjusting my pitch yet again. I pitched that day, and a prospect said something that was really eye-opening for me. They said, wow, it's like you guys made this just for me. And in that moment, I really knew that I was onto something, because in that video I listened to, one of the things he pointed out is that you need your prospects to feel as if you are pitching directly for them and made the pitch for them. I heard that on the call, and I was like, damn, I'm onto something here. So I stuck with that pitch again and again, and then the results. So this is a screenshot from my phone. You can see this is all in one day of just deal after deal after deal after deal. I was onto something. It was really good. Things were going great, right? So over the next year, my closing skyrocketed to 1 out of 3. I had about 33%. I had some months where I was closing as high as 45%, which is great. I closed $100,000 in new deals every month for 9 months straight. And more importantly, I actually started to look forward to getting on calls because I knew what I was doing, right? I know from experience that when sales are going poorly, it can be one of the most miserable experiences in business. And when they're going well, it's the best feeling ever. So all of that being said, let's get into the actual training. So first and foremost, the framework. Before I give you like the full script, you have to understand like what it's built on and why it works. So remember, good pitches are really simple to follow. If you've got this super in-depth, very technical pitch, you will cause what we call information overload. Maybe you've heard that before, which causes people to check out or triggers, I need to think about it objections, right? What I see a lot of agencies do when they go into pitches is they'll start to talk about all the different capabilities that they can have, or they'll talk about the very specifics about, here's how we build campaigns, here's how we do our reporting, here's how we do X, Y, Z. People don't give a shit like about any of that stuff. What they care about is what results can you drive for them and how is that relevant for the situation that I just told you about in discovery, right? So instead of going into long-winded technical pitches about how you set up these campaigns, how you create reports, how you make creative, how you do emails, how you set up your CRM, how you do all that kind of stuff, follow a super simple 3-pillar pitch that is solely focused on results. What you can do is you can take the 3 components of your offer that drive the results that you deliver and make those your pillars. So for example, if the result that you drove was, this is what we did, so I'm going to use an example of what we did. If the result you drove was increased ROAS with better creative, your pillars might look like this. Number 1, video creative, because it's what drives the best results, or at least on from a meta standpoint, creative-wise. With multiple hooks, so you have multiple chances to get the audience's attention, and it's built off your data. So we're not hoping, but we're knowing what works, right? If I look at our offer and how it helped drive results, which the result was obviously the ROAS, it's because of a video creative that had multiple hooks that was built off your data. So once you have your 3 pillars, you have to be able to explain them in a way that makes sense and is focused on the outcome each one of those drives. So explain your pillars this way, makes it super easy. So when you explain your pillars, number 1, here's what most of our clients experience. Number 2, here's what we do instead. Number 3, here's what that means for you. Right? So what we're doing here is we're showing them, hey, you're not alone. Everybody deals with this. We've dealt with this before, right? So what we do, instead of all the stuff that everybody else does, we have a new, unique approach that overcomes all of that stuff. And why this matters for you specifically and the outcome you can expect is this, right? Here's what most of our clients experience. Here's what we do instead. Here's what that means for you. So if we look at one of the pillars that I talked about before, which was like built off your data, this is what that might look like, right? Most of our clients find that they're just making a bunch of different creative, but not really sure what they should be making, causing them to waste a ton of time and money guessing. So what we do instead is not to guess, but to audit the data inside your ad account so we know exactly what works and doesn't work before we start building. And what that means for you is that you can be sure that you're getting the right creative that will actually increase your ROAS without wasting all that time and money guessing, right? It's super simple, very easy to understand, and solely focused on explaining why what we do is different and how it'll impact them, right? If we go back to what makes a good pitch here, stupid simple, really easy to follow, focus solely on their desired outcome, and tied back to what was said during discovery, which I'll get into in the personalization section, but hopefully that all makes sense. So where were we here? So that's what we'll do there, right? So you've got your three pillars, right? That's great. You know how to explain them. That's great. We need to make them super easy to understand. And if you think back to any of the books or things that have lasted a long time, you think through the greatest teachers of all time, they teach through analogies, they teach through stories. And like, regardless of your religious affiliation or lack thereof, the longest standing book of all time is the Bible, right? And what is the Bible? The Bible is a book of stories, right? You think about the greatest teachers, Plato, Aristotle, Jesus, whatever, they all taught through parables, they all taught through stories, right? And so we want to use things that make it super easy for people to understand what it is that we're talking about. So using that same pillar built off your data, what are we doing there? We're taking away all the guesswork and we're making sure that we get it right the first time. This analogy I used for years and years and years, and on every single call, people go, oh, that makes sense. That's what we're trying to get right. Because it's one thing to tell you, hey, we're going to build it off your data. It's another thing to go, hey, you ever heard that term spaghetti marketing? Well, no, Alex, I haven't heard that. You know how, like, and I don't know if you're weird. I'm from the South, so maybe we're weird about this. When we make pasta, we take it out of the bowl and we throw it up against the wall to see what sticks, right? Well, that's what we find most people do with their creative. They make a bunch of stuff, they put it in their ad account, and then they see what sticks, right? And so that is an analogy that you can use, or one that I use for a long time. So that's the framework. Hopefully that makes sense. If that makes sense, if I can get a thumbs up, that would be super helpful to let me know that I'm going in the right direction. Okay, super cool. So now that we've gone through the framework and the back end story, you want to hear the pitch script? Hell yeah, sounds good. Appreciate the feedback there. Cool, man. So here's the script. So pillar one, anti-spaghetti marketing. I'm gonna put my salesperson hat on here so I can get back into when I was closing all these deals. So I might say, Oswaldo. So first and foremost, have you ever heard that term spaghetti marketing? Well, throwing stuff at the wall just to kind of see what sticks. What we find is that a lot of brands, people, agencies, they all treat their creative the same way. They load it up in the ad account and they see what sticks. But for us, we found that the best way to consistently produce creative that converts and increase your ROAS is to use your data, as well as the data from the $100 million that we spent on ads, to understand exactly what to make. So what that means for you is not only do you skip all that wasted time and money and guessing you were telling me about, but you know exactly what to create to increase your ROAS, not just once, but week over week, month over month, year over year, right? So that's the first analogy. That's the first pillar that I would use. This works because it addresses a common challenge, randomly creating and hoping something sticks. It shows what we do differently, building creative off of data, not hope, and explains what it means for them. Getting it right the first time and skipping all the wasted time and money. And of course, it uses an analogy that makes it easy to understand. So that's pillar number one. Pillar number two, the North Star. So I'd say something like this. You ever heard that concept of like a North Star? The idea of having one thing that you always follow no matter what? I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I've often heard from our clients that it sometimes feels like the brand and the agency have different goals. Like you're telling me you want a 3 ROAS and they celebrate that there was 100 likes on your post. Well, what we do is we align on a North Star before we get working. For you, it'd be that 3x ROAS, right? And everything that we do is built around achieving that. Our campaigns, our strategies, our conversations, all of it. And then our team is incentivized based on your KPIs. We hit client KPIs, they get bonuses. So for you, that means you can be sure that we are all measuring success in the same way, and everyone you work with truly has skin in the game. This works because it addresses a common challenge. Brands and agencies have misaligned goals, shows what we do differently, agree on the measure of success and incentivizing our team to hit it, and explains what it means for them. We're all on the same page of what success looks like, and we win when they win, right? And of course, it uses an analogy of a North Star. So that's pillar number 2. Pillar number 3, the telephone game. Have you ever played that game of telephone where like you say something to someone and they say something to someone and then 7 people down, it's like a completely different conversation? Well, what we've heard from a lot of our clients is that it feels like when the agencies they hire try to piece everything together, outsourcing, hiring contractors, things just kind of get lost in the shuffle. So what we've done instead is we built a completely in-house full service team. So the same people making the ads are the people working with the people who manage the $100 million in spend I was telling you about, all of whom you have access to in one place. So what that means for you is that instead of trying to force a bunch of different people to work together or piece pieces together from a bunch of different companies, you have everybody who all has the same strategy, the same plan, and the same incentives, a cohesive team working together for you to deliver results, right? This works because it addresses a common challenge. piecing things together with multiple different vendors and strategies, shows what we do differently, have everybody necessary to deliver the outcomes in one place, and explains what it means for them. One cohesive team working together to deliver the outcome. And of course, again, using an analogy that makes it make sense, right? And so this is, I'm not going to make up a number, but I don't know what iteration of the script this was. When we first got started, my pitch looked a lot more like this. As the market matured, as there were more agencies that were doing creative, as that became more of a known solution, I pivoted away from talking just about the pillars of the offer, as in like, here's how we make creative, because in 2021, this was not like a normal thing. By 2023, this is what everybody talked about. And so I stopped talking about just here's how we make creative, but a lot more about what makes our agency different than other agencies. And so depending on the level of like problem and solution awareness that your market has, and I would recommend that you go into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you use and research your market problem, solution, and product awareness, and you can get an idea of kind of where they are, and you can help pivot your pitch around that. So just again, depending on where your market stands, that's what you need to do. Violin, for you specifically, like obviously you are selling this, so I would also talk a lot about the agency as well. Oswaldo, like I'm not as familiar with the real estate market, but I would imagine there's lots of other solutions that I take back what I said. There are lots of solutions that, realtors look at when they're trying to figure out how to get more leads, whatever. And so depending on how different your solution is to other solutions that are out there would dictate how much you talk about, you as a company versus the process, if that makes sense. So that's the pitch script. And Andre, what's up, man? Good to see you, by the way. Just saw you hopped in here. I don't know what you do, so I can't help you with this specifically, but maybe we can talk in a second when I got through questions. So, okay. So those are the pillars, and then personalization. So if we go back through here, right? Best pitches have 3 components: stupid, simple, and easy to follow, focus solely on the prospect's desired outcome, tied back to what was said during discovery. Again, the big revelation for me is when somebody said, wow, it's like you guys made this just for me. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we want people to do. And so talking about personalization, there's 2 really easy ways to do this. So number 1 is connecting what they said during discovery back into what you say during your pillars. So when pitching, point each of the pillars back to what they said the struggles were. You might say something like, remember how you were saying you feel like you're just making random creative and hoping that it works? Well, we call this spaghetti marketing, and we find that most of our clients, blah, 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 right? And so it makes you feel like you deeply understand their problems because you're connecting it back to what they say. And so what you want to do during your discovery is like, you want to know what, like thinking about your pillars, right? So you've got your pillars. You want to think, what questions can I ask during discovery that will allow me to get them to vocalize the problems that I already know that they have that I put into my pitch, right? And so I would ask them questions about, how do you make creative, right? How do you make it right now? How do you feel about your creative process? And almost all of them would say, it just feels like, we have our designer make some random stuff, or we hire somebody to make some random stuff. It just feels like we don't really know what we're doing. I go, oh yeah, man, we call that spaghetti marketing, right? And so discovery connection, really big. Second, using their language. This one is so simple, but so impactful. Inside your pillars, use the exact words that they mentioned before. So going back to this example of the North Star, right, where it feels like brands and agencies have misaligned goals, they might say something like, I might ask them and say, so how you say you have an agency right now, like how are they doing? How are they performing? They might say, well, it just feels like our agency is so focused on these vanity metrics that don't matter. I might say, what we find is that a lot of agencies focus on vanity metrics. I might ask them that same question, and instead of vanity metrics, they might say something like, just feels like our agency is so focused on likes and views. Well, what we find is that a lot of agencies focus on likes and views. I said the exact same thing. It's the exact same pitch, but it feels like it's made specifically just for them because I'm using their words and saying them back to them, right? And so, again, we want to ask questions inside of our discovery that get them to say the things that we want them to say so that we can tie them back to our pillars, right? So that's how we got here. That's the framework. That's my exact pitch script, and that's how you do some personalization for it. I hope that this was helpful. This is a short training, maybe about 20 minutes. If you're interested in getting some direct one-on-one help like Patrick did on your pitch, your sales process, your offer, your lead generation, whatever else, I have now put in place that I do 3 calls per week, no more, no less. I will drop a link to book. If you'd like to do that, it'll be first come, first serve. But I want to open up the floor for questions, comments, concerns about your pitch, about your sales process, anything like that. So hopefully this is helpful, and we'll go from there. Oswaldo, what's up, man?
Okay, so great stuff, by the way. Thanks for sharing. Really,
Yeah, man.
really
Happy
helpful,
to.
really different. So you had shared with us already previously your slides. So my question is in terms of how you present this. So I mean, are you sharing do you go through discovery and then you're like, okay, cool, so let me share my screen with you, and you are saying this stuff while looking at the presentation slides, or
That's exactly right. I will pull the slides up to give you an exact. I'm going to show you exactly how I would do it. But yeah, I mean, the long and short of it is like I go through all of my discovery, and then I just based on that, I go, well, based on what you're telling me, I do feel like what we do is helpful. And so what I can do now is I can share my screen, walk through a couple things about what we do. Would that be helpful? And they say yes. And so then I pull it up, and let me find this. I'll just do the beginning of the pitch because there's more to the pitch, obviously, with like the process and your team, and you want to go through some of that stuff as well. But at least for the pillars, because that's the big thing. Because if you have pillars and nothing else, that's like 90% of it. But yeah, so I just go and then I walk through that. That name contains 2023. Where are we here? Let's PDF in here somewhere. Package production. Boom. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. So like, let's role play here, and we'll pretend that we're in a sales call. And I'd say, Oswaldo, man, yeah, I mean, all you're saying, like, it really makes sense. You want to get your ROI to a 3. It feels like right now you're kind of all over the place with creative. You tried a couple agencies, nothing's really worked for you. It sounds like a lot of our clients, to be honest. And so what I can do if it would be helpful is I can share my screen and walk through a couple things on how we do it. Does that help? Yes. Okay, cool. And then I would go boom. I would say boom, boom. And I'd go like this, and I'd say, cool, man, can you see that screen, all them bright, smiling, shiny faces? And you'd say, yes, Alex, I can see all those people. And then I'd say, okay, cool. Well, just so you have a little bit of background on us, like there's lots of different agencies that focus on lots of different things, PR, branding, especially in the creative space. What we do is one thing and one thing only. We make creative that converts. It gets people to see it, go to your website, pull out their credit card. We manage about $100 million in ad spend. We've worked with over 500 brands, and everybody has the same question. How do we do it, right? So here's what I want to do. Boom. I go through this one. I go through this one. I go through this one, right? And so that's how I do that transition.
Mm-hmm. You said last time that you were gonna try finding an actual recording of you pitching this.
Yeah, I probably should. I have a bunch of audio recordings. I couldn't find a video one because for whatever reason I didn't do video. I think it was because while we were building the agency, I had a crappy MacBook Air, and when I tried to record, it was like real slow. And so what I do is I would just pull out my phone and do the voice notes recording or whatever else. And so I have a ton of those. I might be able to share one with you. I might be able to share you a little something.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay, so I know that you told me that my sales process is quite complex. Going back to the start of this call, as I said, I don't know exactly how to ask a question or get help, but maybe. So listen, is it cool if I share my screen with you? I'd like to show you.
Bro.
I'm not gonna walk you through the whole thing, but I want to show you big picture what the slides look like. Jimmy, I think that it would be great if we compare them between your stuff and mine because it's same industry. Just I do more. Wait, how the hell do I
Jimmy?
delete this shit?
Hey, sorry, I was taking a call and
no, dude, you're totally fine. Totally fine.
So 1 second. So even though we're in the same industry, I think that Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're mostly focused just on paid ads, right? Or is there any other stuff that you sell other than just paid ads?
No, we sell the end result, which is more closing, but just pay ads. We have a chatbot, filters the leads, CRM that kind of organize everything. But yeah, it's just pay ads.
Nice.
Okay. So I'm doing a little bit more deliverables. So we do the paid ads. We do their websites, their branding stuff to increase the reliability of the ads. We have the CRM. We help them with the nurturing of their sphere of influence in general. So the long-term nurturing we do for our leads, we also do it in general for their database.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I'm not presenting this on the pitch. I don't know if I should because it's already information overload, but it's starting to work really well for me to do an upsell for the actual content creation and
Okay.
just getting them to, giving them scripts, getting them to film. So that's where my revenue is coming from. A lot of it, just every single client that I have has been open to becoming an upsell for it. But I think I might keep that just as an upsell. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Is this your whole deck?
Yeah, so this is my deck.
Okay.
So I mean, it seems like a lot. It's not that much because there's a lot of, like, for example, this
Yeah,
form
I
is just
see.
like
It's just
20
one
colors.
slide that's just adding word onto it or whatever. No, it makes sense.
Yeah. So what I do is I start and then so I start, hey, this is us, and then before I show them what we do, I tell them the actual stuff that I want to bring value to them with, which is, GCI means the commission that they make. So I want to get you more money at a higher price point. So like larger deals and more deals. I want you to work less hours, instead of working hard, work smart. I want to install systems, not only do stuff to get you busier, but if we actually want to scale this up, it also comes down to systems, processes, and delegation. And ultimately, we want to dominate the market, meaning that it's not only enough to get the one lead that wants to buy right now, but continue to follow up long term and get that also long term relationship with you. So I cannot
Sure.
try to anchor that I'm in it for the long haul with them as well.
Makes sense.
Then I go and I just say, hey, so the secret is not what I'm about to show you or how we do what we do, but the who. And I just very straightforward with them. So even though this is not a sales conversation, what I'm trying to sell you is on me. I want to be that person that can get the stuff done for you that you need, that you want or whatever. But I also need you, Alex, to be the one closing the deals, right? No matter how qualified my leads are,
Sure.
I need you doing the closing stuff. I think that I could save this slide, but I just do a little summary here. So get everything by working blah blah blah, completely done for you, completely guaranteed with zero risk. Okay. So how the hell do I actually do it? And I go straight, and I think maybe this is where it gets technical. So I got straight into the deliverables. So first we gotta clean up your digital presence. Then we're gonna build a website that actually converts people, that we can get people to know, like, and trust you. And yes, we've done work for Elena Cardone, if you know Grant.
Yeah.
The landing pages that people can actually trust. Maybe in this section, it's really relevant. So I actually show them maybe the example of this website in the right that people like, in terms of how they can present their marketing to their clients eventually. And none of these works unless we get more people to see it. So that's when we actually run ads. And these ads, we want them to be more authentic, not just cookie clutter, copy and paste. What is your home worth bullshit, right? And last but not least, whether we integrate with your CRM or we use ours, we help you with the follow-up, blah, blah, blah. And then so everything looks good, but the power is in how we put it together. So I just basically show them the visual of how it connects, like when we put everything together. And in this point, I just ask, so does this make sense so far, right? Like whatever, like how do you feel? Like, is there any questions? Does it make sense now? Why during discovery I told you that we could get you at least that extra, $1 million worth of property in a month or whatever, right? And
Sure.
they're like, yeah, sure, okay. Or they ask questions, and then they're like, okay, perfect. So this is the timeline of the way that we work. I want to be getting you leads within 10 days.
Okay.
And then before getting into the money, I have a couple of slides that talk about why trusting us. And that's where I start to talk about our company and why they can trust us. Lastly, I just tell them, like, what's the option B, which is, build it solo, hire a one-man team, pay for a generic machine, or just keep on knocking on doors, right? So then I say that the most important thing is that we care about them, right? And I get them to read this testimonial that a client did for me, that it's not talking about the ad necessarily, because they already saw that the ads fucking work.
Sure.
Like she's wanting to buy me lunch, right? Like that's the personal relationship. So, and then I actually just share my screen and check them through pricing. If obviously I make stop points and everything. So yes, it's a shit ton of slides. I've been using this. It's also the millionth interaction I've been.
Yeah.
So
No, fair,
I don't know how to simplify this.
Oh, you're good, bro.
What you already do.
Okay. So, do I have your permission to give you
Fucking
straightforward,
roast me,
honest
rip
feedback?
me apart.
Okay. I'm not gonna roast you.
and everything.
like it's not that this like presentation is bad. Like I understand from your perspective why it's like, let's put all this stuff in here or whatever else. And like for somebody who's like really sophisticated in marketing and whatever else, like all this kind of stuff makes sense. The thing that I see here, or just my thought process to this whole thing, is that you've put into, whatever, 70 slides, which I know it's not really 70 slides, whatever else, what you could condense into like 3 main talking points, right? So you have these pillars of value, and those are great things to have. But the pillars of value can just be like, let's say you use, for example, digital presence cleanup, award-winning website, whatever, custom assets that convert, traffic and strategy, right?
Mm.
The first thing we do is we do digital presence. What most of our clients find is that right now online they've got all this different stuff about them, blah blah blah, whatever else. So what we do is digital presence cleanup, which that means for you is XYZ, and that's part like of your what that means for you. That is your pillars of value. So instead of having to go through, here's all the value that we're going to provide you, and like here's the biggest secret, it's not about the what or the blah blah blah, and then going into we're going to help you do all these things, like you can condense that super short into like pillar number 1, digital presence cleanup. It helps you do this, 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 and this, which is part of our pillars of value. Number 2, we do an award-winning website, which most of our clients feel like this. So what we do is we build an award-winning website, which helps you to XYZ, right? And so you can condense so much of this stuff down and make it so much easier to like
digest.
I don't know every real estate agent, but the ones that I talk to got a pretty short attention span, and like they want to get to the chase right now, right? And so I think you can just condense so much of this and not have to go through so many slides, talk through so much time, whatever else. And then like that slide that you have where you go through like we do this and the arrows and all that kind of stuff, like I understand why that's in there. And for a person in marketing, that's important. For a real estate agent, they could give a fuck. Like they want to know we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is the result that you're going to get. And if they go, well, how does this work? How does this go to this? And then you go, hey man, well, let me show you. I'll pull it up and do all that kind of stuff for the people that care about that. But a lot of people don't care. Like they don't care about how the process works. They just care about the result that they're going to get. And for the people who do care about the process, we'll get into the process and I'll show you all those kind of things. But for you, man, I would just condense this down. I would go, here's our pillars, right? Here's the things that we do, the deliverables that we have, whatever else. Here's like the results that we drive because of those things is a separate slide. Here's your timeline of like what you can expect, and you have all that kind of stuff. Here's an outline of all the deliverables that you're going to get, right? Does this make sense? Does this feel like the solution that you're looking for? And if they have questions about it or whatever else, pull up the slide, show them all the process, whatever else. But I think right now, without listening to your sales calls, without hearing anything, and so I could be missing context, but I don't think I am. I think the vast majority of the reason that you don't close as many deals as you want to is because you're going through so much stuff. You have so much information. And so if you condense all that stuff down, I guarantee it would make it so much easier to close. Because even just, again, transparently, going through all that kind of stuff, like I'm trying to put myself in the mind of a real estate agent, and I'm just trying to think like, those first couple sets of slides, the pillars of value, the not the what or the whatever, but the who, and like, here's what we're going to do for you. A lot of that stuff, A, it kind of sounds similar, and B, I'm like cut to the chase, man. Like, what are we doing here? And so, yeah, again, I'm not trying to attack. I'm not trying to like do what I'm just saying. I think right now you just have a lot of stuff there that probably isn't necessary. And then another thing, just a small thing that I pointed out or that I thought is on your timeline. Taylor, what's up? How you doing? Nice to meet you. What I noticed on your timeline is you have contract and payment, and it says today. And like at that point, they have not made the decision that they're going to move forward. And so little things like that make it come across as like, hey, salesy, whatever, like I'm here to close type of guy. And like you're assuming that they're going to move forward and make that payment today. And like we don't know that. And so like leave contract and payment on there. Just take away the word today, right? Like I don't think you necessarily need that. So yeah, and actually, the more I think about it, I don't think you need contract and payment because like everybody knows that like for any service, there's going to be a contract and payment. It's like first step, we onboard you, then we do this, then we do this, then when you get leads, right? And like very simple. I'll just show you this one so you can see what our process slide look like. You see this?
It's coming up.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Integrate, ideate, produce, launch. First, we're going to connect you with our team so you can meet everybody. Second, we're going to go back and forth over ideas. We're going to flesh everything out. Then we're going to shoot and deliver everything to you. Then you're going to launch and you're going to make a bunch of money, right? Super straightforward, super simple. And I don't even have specific dates on this thing, right? I just say, the whole thing usually takes about 30 to 45 days as long as you get back to stuff that we need, right? And so just make it super easy. And so just to walk through this for you so you can see the full thing. So quick background, here's pillar number 1, pillar number 2, pillar number 3. Here's some of the results that we drive, right? I have tons of like trust building elements over here. Here's like all these companies that we work with, blah, blah, blah. Here's examples of the work, number 1, before and after. Here's examples of the work, before and after. Here's our timeline. Here's the package. Boom, boom, did the boom. So yeah, and that's it. And so these are other packages, but like it just depends. Whatever I felt they needed is the package that I would show them, and then go like, hey man, you need this thing right here. So yeah, so I would just condense it, right? Like this whole thing is technically it's 9 slides, and this would be 1 slide if I could fit it all on one. And so just super simple. Like your pitch should be like 10 minutes, like max. Like if you think of an hour-long sales call, it's like 30 minutes of discovery, 10 to 15 if you're pushing it, pitching. That's if you're going back and forth and talking with them. Ours probably took about 15 minutes because I usually played these videos, and these videos are 60 seconds each. And so, or 45 or 60, whatever. And so like 10 to 15, then you got 15 minutes to answer questions, handle concerns, handle objections, send over an agreement, whatever. Yes. And then just another side note.
A big time there. Like if you look at the average time that I spent when closing, between, I'm not gonna lie, it's at least an hour and 30.
Oh yeah, you just gotta condense that. Let's make it quick, simple, and to the point. Again, yeah, I'd venture to say again, without listening to your sales calls, you're probably triggering a lot of like information overload. Like they're probably going, yeah, man, this all sounds great, but internally, whether they vocalize it or not, they're just like, you've gone through so much stuff. I feel like I need time to kind of sit back and digest this. And so that's part of the reason why making a super simple pitch is so powerful, because it's like, oh man, this makes sense. Okay, 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 we're done. That's easy, super simple. So yeah, that's what I would recommend on that side. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it's helpful.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you asking and getting some help. So that's what we're all here for. We're all learning.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll get working on that right away. Thank you.
Happy to help him. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Alex,
real quick, Taylor, you came in at the end, and so I've already gone through the entire like pitch thing, whatever else. I put on there that I'm not gonna like post recording. I'm not gonna post recording anywhere, but because you showed up, I'll send you the recording so you can watch the whole thing. So hopefully that's helpful for you. So anyway, Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, we also like the recording if that's okay.
Yeah,
but,
I got you, bro. You're here, so you
yeah.
can have it. And I'll send it to you. Well, you got your note taker here, so you're already taking all my secrets, feeding them to AI so they can clone me.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what's up, man?
So you don't have the price on the slides?
Mm-mm. I do not, because couple of reasons. What I want to do through my pitch, like, okay, so if we go through this whole thing, share this again. Boom, 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 boom. If what I am trying to determine with my pitch is I am trying to understand, do they feel like this is the right solution for whatever problem like that they told me that they have, right? And so if I'm on this slide that has my package and they have that pause, I said has my package anyway. If I'm on this slide and it has the price, that's all they're looking at. That's all they're caring about is the price that's right there. And so what I want to do is I want to separate solution and any other concern or objection that they have. And so I want to go through this whole package. Hey, here's what you get, here's what you get. Based on all this kind of stuff, does this feel like, I don't know, does this feel like kind of the right solution for what you're looking for? Yeah, man, it does. Okay, cool. So just so you're aware, the investment for the package is X. So that way, if they go, well, this sounds great, it's just way too expensive, they've already said to me that this is the right solution. It's just a matter of the price. So I can separate, well, I guess outside of price, like, does this still feel like the right solution? Well, yeah, I mean, it is the right solution. It's just a little bit more expensive than I meant, or expensive than I was hoping for. Well, when you say expensive, how do you mean? Well, I know somebody who can do it for cheaper, or, well, I don't have the budget for it, or whatever else. And then I can handle the price objection by itself. Whereas if I just show the price on there and I haven't verified it's the right solution, it might just be too expensive because they don't think it's the right thing for them. Because if it's not the right thing for them, it don't matter if it's $10 or $10 million. If it ain't the right solution, they're not going to buy it either way. And so I want to separate, you want this thing? We just have to work on price, work on your partner, work on, whatever other objection that you happen to have. And so I always want to keep those things separate.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Okay,
sense?
that makes sense. Yeah, that's actually really good. Because the way I have it, I show them the price with the package, and they always look at the price, and then we always talk about the price. But I guess it makes more sense if you agree that they need that solution, and then you talk about the price.
Yeah. Because like if you show people price or you talk about price or in your discovery, you ask like, well, what kind of budget do you have or whatever else? What happens is you get people into price-based thinking. And we don't want people in price-based thinking. We want people in value-based thinking, because you'd be surprised how much money people can find that they don't think that they have if they know this is the right solution for them. There have been times that I bought shit that I should not buy because I know that I want it, and I'll go get a credit card, I'll go get a loan, whatever else. And maybe I'm not the only person that's been like that, but it's like, if I know I need this thing and the only thing that's separating me is the cash from it, I'll figure out a way to do it. But if the only thing I'm focused on is the price and I'm like, it's probably not worth it. I don't need it that bad, right? And so if we get them to vocalize like, I need this thing, well, why? Just so I can understand like what makes you feel like this is the right solution for you, which is one of the best questions you could ever ask in sales. Then they'll go, well, I just feel like, you guys had this system figured out that I just can't figure out for myself, and I've been trying for so long, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. The investment's 10,000. Oh man, that's just a little more than I was hoping for. Well, no, I mean, I guess outside of the price, like, is this the right solution? Yes. Why? This. Okay. Well, what do you think that we could do to resolve it so that you can actually get the results that you're looking for? Well, maybe I can go get a loan, or, well, maybe can we break it up into payment plan, or, whatever. And so we always want to, like, the most important thing you can do at the end of your sales call is get them to say, yes, this is the right solution for the problem that I have. And if that's the case, all the objections don't matter. That's all just logistics that we can figure out. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
That makes sense.
Nice. Violet, what's up, man?
Yo.
What up, dude?
So this is kind of on the same topic. So we're running ads, and we've gotten about 23 leads over the past couple weeks, and six self bookings. But every single one of the bookings have been not really quality. So my question for you, Alex, is kind of based on the landscape of ad creators for e-commerce brands. If you don't really have those big results like spending $100 million a year or anything like that, would you suggest maybe pivoting into another industry like local business and then maybe going into e-commerce?
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Clients care less about like the specific, clients don't really care about like who you've worked with or whatever else as much as people might think it is. Like, people will put on there like, we've worked with AT&T and Nike and whatever else. People don't give a shit about who you've worked with. They care about what that you can do for them. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that, like, yeah, I said that we spent $100 million because we have, and that's like a huge, like, whatever bragging point that I can talk about. But, if that's not the case, like, that's fine. Like, it's still the same process. It's still like, hey man, you've got this problem, and like, here's how we've solved this problem. And for you, like, I already know that you've worked with other e-commerce brands and gotten them results. And so it's more about tying like, hey, we work with this brand who also had this similar problem, and here's what we did to solve that problem, and here's the results that they got. And based on what you're telling me, it feels like, that's kind of similar. Am I misunderstanding that? They'll go, well, no, we're actually doing the same problem. Yeah, well, here's how we kind of solve that for another company, right? And so, it is about using case studies, but the case studies are not about the amount of money that you spend. It's not about the amount of revenue that you drove necessarily. It's not about like, it's not about anything besides like, this person had the same problem and we solved it this way. So if that's the case, don't you think we could probably do that for you? And so for you specifically, because I was actually, believe it or not, I was thinking about your ads the other day. And
Really?
so believe it or not. I was sitting there thinking, well, for lots of reasons, but I was thinking about the fact that you're running ads specifically to e-commerce brands. And when I think about what we did, is like, we did not run ads that say like, hey, Shopify brands, hey, e-commerce brands. What we ran ads based around was the problem, not the industry. Because I have another client that I'm working with who was dealing with something like this, and it made me think of you. So we focus on the problem. And so all of our ads were like, hey, they didn't say it like this, but they all said the same, like, basic thing, which is like, does your ROAS suck? It's probably because of your creative. So book a call and let's talk about making creative that converts. We didn't call out any sort of brands. And so the big thing with that is like, it opens up the market of people that you can help with so much that you're going to get local businesses and SaaS companies and coaches and info products and e-commerce brands. We work with, I mean, dude, when I say we work with 500 clients, it's across so many industries. And it's because it's the same problem. Everybody has the same problem. And so I heard somebody say one time, I can't remember who it was, and I say there's like 2 ways to grow a company to $1 million a month. You can either solve a bunch of problems for one type of company or one type of business, or you can solve the same problem for a ton of different types of businesses. And
That's
so
good.
for me, like, we were doing that. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what we were doing. We were solving one problem for a ton of different types of businesses. So I guarantee you that if you took your ads and you took off all the Shopify, e-commerce brand, whatever else, and just focus like on the problem, you'll get way more leads. They'll be way cheaper. And so you have way more opportunities.
Yeah. Well, for context, we're getting leads for $13 right now.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm not mad at that then.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I guess then maybe what I heard was about the quality.
Yeah.
How do you define the quality of your leads?
I would define that by the amount that they're making each month.
Like what is that line? Like, how do you define it?
At least 25K.
Gotcha.
But I mean,
Side
I
note,
can work a lead that's doing 10K because we've had clients come to us at that point and scaled them
bro,
up.
I had companies that made $0 ever in the history of their company who came to us and said, "Hey, we're about to launch. We're about to get ready, and I want to go out and put my best foot forward and kick ass. And so like, here's what it is." And they'd go get a credit card and they would pay. So if you're not, you probably already are, but if you're not, take every single call ever. Unless you're at a point where you already have 8 calls a day and there's like no time. Take every single call and don't. One of the huge mistakes that I made was disqualifying people before like I had a chance to talk to them. Like there are so many people who would have bought if I would get out of my own freaking way, put my ego to the side and just go like, well, let's see what happens because they booked this call for a reason. So
yeah, that's a good point. I definitely think my ego has gotten in the way because we had one
happens to everybody
call a couple weeks ago, and I sent him an email and I was like, just based on your application, I don't think you're a good fit. But I mean, I think that was just ego.
You live and you learn.
Yeah,
all you got to do. Just don't make the same mistake twice, like I have.
Yeah, got you, bro.
Oh, good. Taylor, you got any questions, or does anybody else have any questions as we kind of finish out here?
I think that's all on my end. I appreciate you.
Cool.
Always.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to help.
Taylor, I think you said something, but you're in mute.
I didn't say anything, but thank you. I actually have a question. Like, so if someone was to have the income to do it and they wanted to do it, would you say no to them, and why?
Would I say no to somebody?
Yeah.
If I felt like, people have different opinions on different things, right? From my perspective, I don't like selling people stuff that's not going to be helpful for them. Like my job in discovery, like you have a lot of jobs in sales. Like it's a very multifaceted kind of position. But when you're selling stuff, like it's your job to go like, what problem does this person have? And if they buy this thing, is it gonna help them achieve that whatever goal they have or fix whatever problem that they have? Because the issue with selling stuff, and like I say this from experience, because I've sold tons of stuff in the past to people that I'm like, maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but I'm trying to get paid, so we'll figure it out later. The issue with doing that is that like they're not going to get good results. They're going to get really pissed at you. You're going to have to deal with that. They're probably going to want a refund, or they're going to charge back. They're probably going to talk shit about you online if you don't give them the money back. And like, to me, it's not worth it. And so I do that. Like, I wouldn't be at the end of they wouldn't even know the price if I felt like it wasn't right for them, because I wouldn't go through the pitch. Like I would ask them questions, I'd go through discovery, I'd figure it out. And then based on what they're telling me, I would just say like, hey man, like based on what you're telling me, like I don't really think that what we do is right for you. Trust me, I'd love to help, and like maybe I have some other resources or some YouTube videos I could point you to, or just something like that. But just based on what you're telling me, man, I don't really think it's the right like move for you. And so like I'm not in the business of just selling stuff to sell stuff. And so yeah, I wouldn't even go through the whole thing. And so yeah, if I felt like they could, like, because that's the big thing here, right? It's like if I feel like they could, like whatever I sell will solve a problem for them, then I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure they buy that thing, because it's like that's my job. You have this problem, I know how to solve it, and by you not buying it, you are only hurting yourself. So that's my job to sell. At the same time, if I sell something that's not going to help them, it's not worth it for me in the long run to do that. Yeah, it's nice to make some cash today, but when it's all said and done, it's way more of a headache than it's worth.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Any chance you can put the link to the documents in the chat so that we can review it more in detail?
I will send you the video.
Okay.
I will send you the video for sure, which will have everything, and then you have to hear me talk the entire time. So
No, that's fine. I'll just take I'll just watch the video and take screenshots so that I can copy and paste. It's easier for me to take notes that way and actually visualize. I need to read things like 5 times so that I can actually understand.
Oh, good. I got you. Byron, what's up? What's up?
So when it comes to the close rate for enterprise clients, are you still aiming for 30%, or what's kind of?
Yeah, I mean anything above 20% is good for me.
Okay.
Like I'm fine. Like when I ran a sales team of these people trying to close them, any sales guy who was 20% or above, I'm happy with. Ideally, we want like 33% because 1 out of 3 is like killer. Really, 1 out of 4 should be like your bare minimum. But so much of that comes with like, how are you getting people on the phone, and are they qualified? I mean, of like qualified leads, of people who like have the problem that we solve. Yeah, of people that have the problem that we solve. That's how I qualify a lead. If you have the problem, like we gonna make something work. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Oswaldo, what up?
Hey, so going back to pricing. Currently, the way that I'm showing pricing, that as you saw, it's not on the slides. I'm getting extremely good response, really cheap cost per leads when I'm able to spend dollars on ads, and a lot of response overall, whether it's cold calling, like in any source. I've tried it all, for real estate, which is offering pay per close up front, so pay once you close a deal, and then upselling to get more of my services and less commission, right? So what I'm currently doing, I believe that it's also information overload. I wanted to see if I could write it down for you the way that I do it, because I think that I can delete stuff, or maybe you do it in a different way. Do you have a couple of minutes so I can just pull it up?
Yes, I have till 6:05, so about 7 minutes, because then the Grizzlies are playing. That's the one thing I gotta always be there for.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so first, I literally just share my screen on Zoom, like the whiteboard, and I just type it out with them. So the first thing I explain is how the commissions work, which I think I'm gonna have as one of the pillars, which makes perfect sense the way that you explain it. Then, so I have 2 programs. So program A, I just call it the test drive, and I'm literally typing it out the way that I type it out for them. So I just have the test drive, which is 0 down, okay, just pay for ads. So ad spend. The only guarantee that we have is that we get paid when you get paid. But because this is more, this is higher risk on our side, and we're not getting paid anything to start anything else, we're only starting with the 2 core things that you need to start seeing success with this, which is running ads, aka which is getting you leads, aka running ads, and helping you to follow up with them, which is nurturing, aka CRM, right? So here, because there's just a test rate, it's only supposed to last for like maybe 1 or 2 deals that we do together, the commission is more expensive, which is 50%, right? Now, if you actually just wanted to go ahead and do the whole thing, we do have the program B, which is the full guaranteed program, which basically is you still have to pay for the ads, so it's still the ad spend, right? And you get the entire offering that I showed you. So the ads, the leads, the websites, blah 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 blah. I just go through the whole very briefly. Ad spend, full entire program. And in here, because there is a starting fee to start, we do have a guarantee. So we have the 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. If you think that this is bullshit at the first 3 days, whatever, no, like, do not break a sweat. We just pay it back, whatever. And we do not need a monthly retainer, a yearly thing, or anything. It's just one time, lifetime. That's
He's on a
just together. So it's just once, or I don't know how to type it, just once, and I just do that. It's $9.97,
okay.
and I just do it like that. And then if they say yes or how this work, whatever, or they object, I'm just doing. We can do it either 50% down and 50% after the first 30 days or whatever, or just 750 to start. And right now I'm closing people 750. I was actually selling the same thing for 5K with a much lower closing ratio. So I'm kind of content with this lower price point. It's getting me into the door with more people, like higher ticket people that normally would be more skeptic. But I feel like the way I'm presenting it can get confusing too.
Yeah. Do you have the specific numbers of like how many people choose A versus B?
Nobody chooses A unless they're extremely skeptic, in which case we normally don't even get to the point of working together.
Yeah.
Because it's just like a smokescreen, or
Yeah.
they're just completely broken. They can't even afford the.
Okay, that makes sense. If nobody chooses A, I probably wouldn't even make it an option. But that's a side
The
note.
only reason why I do it is because ethically, because the front of the marketing, that what I've seen, and again, trust me, I've tried all. Like I might not be the biggest success, but I've tried all, and maybe Jimmy can even test this out later for himself. The fact that I'm going up front with, hey, paper close, blah blah blah, it's getting me into so many doors that I wouldn't have otherwise access.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, that's fair because it's part of your lead system. That makes sense to me. Do you have or have you tracked the specific number of your closing rate on the 5K versus your closing rate on the 997?
I don't have the specific number, but I have been seeing like close to 3-4x.
Yeah. So
why does that matter to me? Because it's the same amount on ad spend, and I'm gonna get paid on ROAS. So I have 4 times more people that are gonna pay, that I'm gonna be able to upsell eventually, that are gonna pay for the software, the CRM, and that I have chances to close business with them.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. So it's hard for me to say like definitively I think this or I think this without saying all the numbers, because like I also want to see the numbers on, like, I want to see the number of the difference in the closing rate between 5K and 997. I also want to see the difference in how much money that you make per client, and like, is that worth doing that over time? What percentage of them upsell? And like, basically it all comes down to what is your average like full client lifetime value. And so, and how many of them who are at 5K would have also upsold to other things or get paid off ROAS or whatever else. And so it's hard for me to say which is better without having all that information.
Sorry, man, because I know that you have to get going, but
yeah,
the actual question that I had is going back to the information overflow. I was not asking about, although I appreciate, because I know that I'm not giving you enough info to give me advice on something else. I'm not giving you that data that you would need. But just in terms of like, I'm right now just sharing my screen, walking them exactly the same way that I did with you. I'll be more paid. How would you approach it differently if you were to put the 2 offers and explain them in a digestible way? How would you?
I actually like what you're doing. Like, I don't think that's wrong. I like keeping it super simple. I like it. It made sense to me, like how you're doing X, Y, Z. And if most people are doing the 997 and not the free one, which obviously you'd rather have people do the 997, I would imagine, than the free one, then I think that's fine. So I don't think that you need to adjust like how you do pricing necessarily, because it made sense to me.
Okay, it didn't seem too confusing or everything like everything else I do.
No, I wouldn't say everything you do is too confusing, but no, I didn't think it was too confusing, man. It made sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that you have any sort of closing issues because of how you explain the price, if that's the question that you're asking.
Okay. Yeah, it's so much more, but yeah, I'll get working immediately right now. Like, I don't give a fuck that it's Friday. I'll work on something for the slides.
What it's all about, brother. You'll figure it out. Jimmy, anything else before we wrap up? I know it's 6:05. I can give you like 1 or 2 minutes. You have another question?
No, bro, it's been helpful. I was just taking some notes. Honestly, yeah, I'm good.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you taking some time on a Friday evening to hop on with me. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, please reach out. And it'll take some hours before this recording is available to share, but I will share it with you. And you have your Fathom note taker here anyway, so I'm sure that'll be available in 5 minutes. Cool.
Immediately then. Thank you
Yep.
so much, Alex. Good seeing you.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah.